What is going on, y'all? Psych Perspectives, Geo Fucks here. In this video, we're going to discuss how when you're dealing with narcissistic, toxic, dysfunctional, emotionally manipulative individuals, you'll notice how no matter what you do for them on their behalf, no matter what you buy them, no matter how much love and positivity and positive affirmations and support and advice you give them, it'll never be enough because they're insatiable. They're gonna always want more and more and more and more and more. They're gonna always demand more and more and more. You know, there's no keeping people like that, you know, happy, pleased. They'll never be satisfied. They're going to always need something more. They're going to always ask for more. You know, they're going to always expect more as well. And I say this because it's like, I grew up in a household where, you know, I'm very upfront about it. The narcissistic, just dysfunctional, toxic behavior, people not being able to self-regulate or regulate their emotions in a healthy, positive way, and then dealing with, when you're living with narcissistic individuals or you're from a narcissistic family, you know how basically it's one big ass-kissing contest. You know, everybody is trying to seek the approval and the praise of the toxic individual in question in the family unit. It sucks when that is a parental figure, a guardian. You know, that's your mom, that's your dad, you know, that's your grandparent, your grandmother, your grandfather. It's a parental figure. It's your parent. It's a grandparent, you know, and that person has so much control over your life. I mean, they're providing for you, they're paying for you, they give you shelter, food, you know, so you pretty much feel like you always have to meet their standards or expectations because, you know, the saying, how can you bite the hand that feeds you? And let's be real, when you're a child, the power dynamics are clearly unfair. Like, you know what I mean? There's no going around that when you have power dynamics. When you have power dynamics at play in those situations, what ends up happening is, you know, you're at the mercy of the person with the power, right? But to get back on track, it doesn't matter what you do for them. They're gonna always find something at fault. And this really kind of goes without saying, but it needs to be said because a lot of us have dealt with these types of situations where you're constantly doing and giving for that person because you love and you care about them, and you're also seeking approval. Again, those of us that grew up in narcissistic households and dysfunctional households, we already know the setup. This is where that people pleasing comes from, because you're constantly seeking the approval of the toxic person in question, right? Like, you're constantly seeking approval from them. You know, you're constantly like doing things, walking on eggshells, you know, all to get that approval, all to make sure that you're not the one getting cussed out and belittled and made fun of. You're not the target of the abuse. So you're doing everything to, you know, make that other person happy at the expense of yourself, oftentimes, you know, and this is where the people pleasing comes from, you know. So anyways, I went and I picked up some bar stools. And this is because my grandmother, you know, she's always talking about, she wanted bar stools. She's been talking about bar stools for over a month and how bad she needs these bar stools. And I had already showed her pictures almost a month ago of bar stools that I was seeing, that I had saw at Menards. Save big money at Menards. I had to do that. I had to do the jingle. I mean, it just, if you know Menards, you know the jingo. But anyways, So I decided to pick up 2 bar stools as an early Mother's Day gift. And of course, at first, she was happy, she was excited, she was pleased. Then the very next day, today, oh, these are too tall. These are too tall. And any other, in a normal setting, I would have been like, okay, that's understandable. They're too tall. Let me go and I can take them back. I still got my receipt. I can go and get another size, even though that was the only size that they had at Menards, but okay. So, I would have been able to understand that. But anybody that knows where I'm going with this, and again, I love my grandmother. It is what it is. I'm going to continue to provide and to protect and look out, but with boundaries. So I walked in the house and I'm like, how do you like the bar stools? They're sitting up there by her island in the kitchen where you would need the bar stools. And first, she's saying how they're too high for her. And here's the thing. In a normal situation, that wouldn't matter. It wouldn't be a big deal. But those of you who grew up in the similar situations or have dealt with people who are narcissistic or who have very, narcissistic behaviors, or people who are dysfunctional and toxic, you know where I'm getting at. They always find fault in everything. Nothing will ever satisfy them, okay? There's always something wrong. And they go out of their way to tell you how it's wrong and why it's wrong and how you need to do this the next time, because nothing is ever good enough for them. And again, it's a bar stool. It's not that big of a deal. I have the receipts. I can take it back. Take the receipt, take it back. We'll look elsewhere. We'll get the right size so they're not too tall. You know what I mean? So it's not crucial. But what is crucial is that this has been my entire life. And you're constantly being told how this isn't good enough, you're not good enough, and then we already know it's Mother's Day, so we're about to see the triumphalon of triangulating your offspring and trying to make each other jealous based off of what type of gifts that you get for Mother's Day or what type of cards. You already know how it goes. But because I'm so aware over the past nearly 4 years of researching and going to therapy and counseling and being in healing and holding myself accountable and regulating my own emotions. That's why I'm always making these videos and I'm writing in my journal. And when I go to therapy, I talk about it because it is about regulating your emotions. So instead of getting all bent out of shape and upset, because I know how she is, she'll say things to cause you to get upset. She will literally purposely say things to get underneath your skin, to agitate you. This is what toxic narcissistic people love to do. They get off on seeing other people angry and upset. And they get off knowing that they have that power and control over you. Because it's a power thing. They're holding it over you. They know what to say to get you upset. They know what's going to get underneath your skin. So instead of getting all trippy about it, I was just like, okay, well, when I get the time, I'll take them on back up to Menards and get the right ones. Talk to my mom briefly. And then I went on and was like, I'm about to head out, about to get ready to go to the gym. I'll see you later. Because I'm not finna sit up here and get all angry and upset and then waste all my time focusing on bar stools and how they need to be the right height. And, it just causes issues. And another thing that I've noticed too about toxic narcissistic people, whether they're doing this consciously or unconsciously, it's a pattern of behavior that I've noticed. Nothing ever goes as planned with them. You ever know, there's always something wrong. They're going to nitpick about something. Like I said, never satisfied. They're insatiable. They're going to always be, seeking more, needing more. It's never enough. And I just since moving, I've moved away, moved out nearly 2 years ago in July of this year. And I've been away from that. I used to live in that 24/7. And that's why now that I'm out of it, it really does cause you to it makes you realize you can breathe and reevaluate and recognize that is toxic and dysfunctional behavior. Okay? And granted, it's a bar stool, not a big deal. But if you come from my background and you've been through what I've been through, and I know a lot of you have, you know where I'm getting at with this video. They're going to always have something to complain about. Nothing is ever, and my thing is, and it can literally be exactly, because these are the same pictures that I showed her before I bought these bar stools nearly a month ago. So, it could literally be exactly what they asked for. You can go out of your way. You can spend all this money. And Lord knows I know, because I done paid for bathrooms to be renovated, washers, dryers, all new furniture, new flooring, new TVs, jewelry, perfume, cards. It don't matter. See, and that's another thing. Now that I'm in healing and therapy, that's where that people pleasing comes from. And that's also where this notion of you can buy love. No, you can't. Because at the end of the day, a person either loves you and reciprocates that, or they don't. You can put your best foot forward and people still will not accept you, will still not like you. And you know what? That's okay. And it's not your job to be liked by everybody. But when you grow up in these households, when you grow up in these types of households, you spend a lot of your time trying to get people to like you. Because that's how it was growing up with the narcissist or the toxic person that you dealt with. And that becomes a pattern of behavior. And pretty soon you have a pattern of people pleasing, of not speaking up for yourself, of not having boundaries or lacking boundaries. And these issues can follow you from childhood to your preteen, teenage years, to your young adult into adulthood years. And a lot of times it's going to take therapy and counseling to break that cycle. And before I end this video, I want to make sure you understand, I take accountability. I bought the wrong height bar stools. I still have the receipt. I can take the receipt with the bar stools back and get some different bar stools or a different height, what have you. Plus, I get my mail-in rebate because it's Menards. Save big money at Menards. So I'm not tripping. But it's just to put things in perspective. If you grew up, again, in the life that I grew up in, and I'm not saying that everything was bad, but clearly everything wasn't good. And you can talk about both nuances. But yes, you start, again, healing, therapy, counseling, all of these things matter and will help, in my opinion, and do help. It do help, but it is something to think about. That's all I'm gonna say on that note. And on that note, let me get in here, change clothes, get in this gym, get ready to go to this gym with my friend. And yeah, I'm out.